What in the world did I just sit through? What did I just witness? I'm pretty sure I just had years shaved off the back end of my life. What a tough, ugly watch this game was, and on top of it, they lost. They lost.
Everyone anticipated a different kind of story when the Indiana Fever took the court on Saturday night against the Los Angeles Sparks. What had begun as a typical game swiftly devolved into yet another instance of WNBA referee incompetence, and the proof was clear this time.
One thing with that last play that I'm speaking about, it seemed like they called it a loose ball foul at first, which would have been favorable for us because we have them in the bonus. Yeah, we were in the bonus with 5.5 minutes left to go. First time all season, I was shocked. We grabbed the rebound. Looked like they called it a loose ball foul. Yes, we can go to the free throw line. Oh, they changed it, reset.
The struggling Sparks defeated the Fever 89-87. However, the final score wasn't the true tale. It was witnessing the referees blatantly ignore Sophie Cunningham's face being snatched in front of them while turning their backs on fundamental player safety.
LA Sparks just got the spark versus the Fever for some reason, man. But the Sparks always have matched up well with the Fever since last season, man. Tough ending for the Fever girls. Just some missed free throws, some questionable shots. Could have got it, man. Close game. I ain't even mad. The intensity is there, man. This team, if they can keep up this intensity, is going to be real nice with Caitlin Clark.
This wasn't your typical awful officiating night. When Sophie Cunningham was practically dragged to the ground in what began as a 50-50 challenge and then had her face grabbed, the referees did nothing at all. This was systematic referee prejudice that showed everything wrong with WNBA officiating.
And the referees, let's just blame the referees and say, hey, but you called a loose ball foul. This was a game that we should have won. Again. And a game that we lost, unfortunately. 89-87, Los Angeles Sparks defeat.
This wasn't your usual terrible officiating evening. The officials did nothing as Sophie Cunningham was nearly pulled to the ground in a 50-50 challenge and then had her face grabbed. This systemic bias on the part of the referees exposed every flaw in WNBA officiating.
Disaster. This was a disaster. The Indiana Fever cannot keep losing to teams like the LA Sparks if they're supposed to be a good team. And Rickea Jackson, she just flat abused the Fever in the last 3 minutes of the game. Seriously, what?
The discrepancy was astounding. Cunningham is tackled to the ground and has her face seized. Carlson makes a classic basketball play, with just her hands on the ball as the officials pretend to be watching paint dry. Suddenly, the officials are aware and prepared with their whistles. Even the presenters were unable to conceal their perplexity at this absurd contradiction because the hypocrisy was so obvious.
Sydney Carlson, man, shout out to her, dog. I can't overlook her. 6 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds with that intelligent block, like it. 2 of 4 from the floor and then 2 of 3 from the 3. I mean, she was shooting like she was the scorer of the team. She put on her airy bag tonight.
Please subscribe if you're having fun. Throughout the entire season, Sophie Cunningham has been singled out for criticism for shielding her teammates. She is the player that intervened when opponents were abusing Caitlin Clark, and now she is the one in need of protection that the referees declined to offer. The video from Saturday night shows Julie Van Loo grabbing Cunningham by the neck in what should have been a standard lost ball scenario, but no foul was called. As if violent contact to a player's face and neck region were a typical aspect of basketball play, the referees called it a jump ball.
And we talk about this. We are circled on everybody's schedule. Everyone, no one likes us, right? So everyone in our locker room, that's the only type of people that we have that we can lean on. And we got to be better in that area. We have got to stay disciplined. We have to stay focused. We need to get consistent, and we got to lean on each other. And I think that we've kind of wavered a little bit on that. We have our own islands, but as one of the leaders on the team, I got to do a better job of grouping people, right? In the fourth.
The fact that this is the same referee team who spent an eternity at the monitor analyzing Sydney Carlson's clear block on Rickea Jackson just serves to exacerbate the situation. Carlson merely touched the ball in a flawless defensive move. However, It took the referees 5 minutes to reverse their blatantly incorrect initial call of a foul. The fact that they had to contest such an obvious defensive play demonstrates how incompetent these referees are. There is more to this pattern than just poor officiating. Certain players are protected while others are left unprotected due to selective enforcement susceptible to attack. The referees have selective blindness as soon as Cunningham is grabbed by the face. However, they are prepared to blow the whistle more quickly than you can blink when Carlson executes a flawless defensive play. The Indiana Fever have been suffering from this double standard all season long, and Saturday night was just the most obvious instance to date.
Went with Lexi Hall in the starting lineup, and she was just trying to get charge calls all night, trying to get the charge calls because she was lacking with the size with Rakia Jackson. So I understood why she was doing it and trying to get Rakia in foul trouble. It was smart. But at the end of the day, that last play, you never flop and give the ref the game to call. You never flop in the clutch moment, man. I'm sorry. I did not.
When you take into account that the Fever fell to the Los Angeles Sparks, the ridiculousness peaked. This season, they are among the weakest teams in the WNBA. With a 513 record going into the game, the Sparks had the second worst record in the league. This club has had difficulties throughout the entire season. However, they were able to overcome the Fever in large part because the referees made phantom calls on clean plays while refusing to call clear fouls. All of the commentators who claimed that the Indiana Fever would be better without Caitlin Clark were shown to be utterly foolish. Clark was sorely required for this game. The game made it clear that they were sorely missing their hero. The Fever would have most likely won this game handily if Clark had been healthy and playing. Rather, they have to fight the officials as well as their opponents while losing their finest player.
Let's point out the obvious. A lot of people said it. We can officially rest in peace. R.I.P. Undertaker, Tombstone Piledriver. The theory that this team is better without Caitlin Clark. ESPN, you got your ears on? We can officially Tombstone Piledrive that BS. If you can't see how incredibly limited the Indiana Fever are on offense without CC, you're either not watching or you don't know what you're watching.
The Indiana Fever are currently at 99, but they are likely 10 against the referees because they simply don't want to give them any choices. Every game turns into an uphill struggle in which they must defeat not just their rivals, but also institutionalized prejudice from officials who appear intent on making their lives as challenging as possible. You can tell the system is flawed when your team is forced to use challenges on clear calls without being shielded from violent plays. In the first quarter of the game, Sophie Cunningham was diving for a lost ball when Julie Van Loo grabbed her by the neck. The communication was explicit, purposeful, and superfluous. A competent referee would have identified this as an apparent foul with the potential to escalate right away. Rather, these inept authorities pretended nothing had happened and referred to it as a jump ball. Even worse, after Cunningham was seized around the neck, they showed little regard for her security or welfare. Sydney Carlson's clean block was incorrectly penalized, and Sophie Cunningham is unfairly singled out. When Carlson made a legitimate defensive play, the referees called a foul, forcing the Fever to contest a clear-cut strong defense. Then, these same officials debated whether Carlson's textbook defensive play was permissible for almost 5 minutes at the monitor. Consider the message that this conveys. Take hold of a player's neck and face. No issue. Continue playing. Use the right technique to make a clean defensive play. It takes many minutes of video review to correct that foul. The ineptitude is so obvious that it verges on criminal carelessness. Why enforcing the rules selectively, these referees are actually endangering player safety.
Colson, 5 assists, no turnover. Colson, she played herself a good game. Michaela Timpson, 5 points, 1 block, really 2 blocks. I'm not sure why it's only talked about as 1. 6 rebounds. Michaela Timpson looked great today. Michaela Timpson looked pretty good today. I gotta be honest. 3 fouls in 12 minutes. Not what you would like to see. 1 foul was...
It was devastating for the Indiana Fevers to lose to the Sparks since they faced a squad they should have easily defeated. With a 613 record following their triumph, the Sparks are among the poorest teams in the league. The Fever were expected to make a big impression, especially since they were playing at home without Caitlin Clark. Rather, It turned into yet another illustration of how poor officiating can drastically change a game's outcome. The game was close the entire time, which added to the frustration of this defeat. Despite coping with terrible officiating and losing their star player, the Fever were still competing. Leading the pace with 23 points and 12 points was Aaliyah Boston-Abounds, while Natasha Howard had another outstanding game with 21 points and 9 rebounds. Despite their best efforts, they were unable to overcome the combination of biased officiating and Clark's absence.
And also Howard. Howard was doing a big one too. 8 of 11 from the field, 21 points, had 4 turnovers. Have to take care of that ball, but 2 blocks, 1 steal, 3 assists, and 9 rebounds. Howard has been consistently giving us everything she got out there, man. So I have to give it to her. She's been giving us everything she got. So shout out to her. Yeah, they took care of the ball pretty well today. The
pressure of playing shorthanded and battling the referees ultimately caught up with the Fever, who missed their last 5 shots, including 4 in the closing minute. Those final moments become much more challenging when you're always fighting uphill against opponents and officials. When you are aware that the officials are not treating you fairly, every possession is more important. This defeat sums up all the issues with WNBA officiating and how they affect the league's competitive balance. While opponents can get away with risky moves like grabbing players about the face and neck, teams like the Indiana Fever are forced to be flawless while dealing with inconsistent and biased officiating. For WNBA officiating standards, the Sophie Cunningham face grab incident signals a new low. When officials spend 5 minutes discussing clean defensive plays while ignoring blatantly harmful contact, they have totally forgotten their main duty, which is to ensure player safety and fair play. Cunningham's ability to laugh it off and smile afterwards does not justify the other's inability to keep her safe.
Somebody was saying earlier, and I took note of it, that when the Fever called a timeout at the very end of the game, anybody know Stephanie White didn't draw up any plays? What are you doing exactly? What would you say it is that you do here? Question mark. The office, your office space. What would you say it is that you do here exactly?
Despite being punished several times for expressing the truth, Coach Stephanie White deserves praise for continuing to expose this systematic injustice. She gave the players another reality check regarding the need for discipline following Saturday's defeat. However, the referees who keep making fun of professional basketball are the ones who really ought to be disciplined. The Indiana Fever will persevere in the face of hardship because championship-caliber teams do just that. They've demonstrated that they can contend even if Caitlin Clark doesn't win the Commissioner's Cup, putting up outstanding performances, but they shouldn't have to deal with referee bias in addition to all the other challenges they face. This hot team will be serious challengers for the championship after Caitlin Clark recovers from her groin ailment. They have established the kind of team chemistry and defensive tenacity that will propel them far into the postseason. Ask the enforcer who defends her teammates when necessary. Sophie Cunningham has played a significant role in that development, delivering exceptional performances. But in addition to all the difficulties they encounter, they shouldn't have to contend with referee bias. When Caitlin Clark recovers from her groin injury, this sizzling team will be a formidable contender for the title. They have developed the kind of defensive intensity and team cohesion that will help them advance far into the tournament. Sophie Cunningham has contributed significantly to that development as the enforcer who stands up for her teammates when needed.
They go into that. At the end of the day, we got to be more disciplined. I didn't feel like we guarded our yard very well. I felt like we had times where we got them going the direction that we wanted to, and we bailed them out by fouling. But they did a good job of continuing to just put their head down and attack us and force us into those fouls.
The terrible reality of WNBA officiating was once again revealed by the Indiana Fever's 89-87 defeat to the Los Angeles Sparks. The Fever refused to let dishonest officiating ruin their season. Even though Sophie Cunningham was grabbed around the face with no repercussions and Sydney Carlson had a clean defensive play that was initially deemed a foul. They have demonstrated the passion and tenacity of championship squads. One thing is very evident as they proceed with a 99 record. This team from the Indiana Fever won't always be the target of prejudiced discrimination. They are constructing something unique. This team will be prepared to take on any opponent if Caitlin Clark returns healthy. Sophie Cunningham is willing to defend her teammates, and players like Sydney Carlson are making winning plays. Even once Clark recovers from his injury, the playoffs are still very much within sight. The Fever have demonstrated their ability to compete with the top clubs in the league and win major games. All they need is for the referees to carry out their duties and provide equal protection to every player, regardless of the side they play for. Until then, every game will be a struggle against referees and rivals. However, this Fever crew has demonstrated that they are prepared for every obstacle that may arise.